Hey everybody, welcome to Friday PM. It's Luigi Scarcelli here. It's another Friday. We're really excited to have our first guest, friend of the show. He's been on our show as well as a lot of the First Friday things that play actually on Saturday Night Special. Jason Lambert, musician, teacher by day. You're kind of like the superhero guy, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
He's got the day thing and then the night thing. Now, you know, jumping right into question, do you play out as much anymore, or you kind of used to do open mics sometimes?
Yeah. When I used to have, I had some gigs. I'm just really bad at getting them because you have to really put yourself out there, and you have to just keep bugging people, and that's just not my personality.
Yeah.
So, and I also do, like, the stuff I do acoustically is mellow.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm not going to book a gig at Saturday night at the big venue, because the stuff that I do is more like, it's like Sunday afternoon kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I got to get back out and start. I mean, I think I've sent one message to try to get a gig, just because that's how it works. You know what I mean? So
it's kind of funny about like the Portland scene, because there's probably a ton of artists. There's less places, so it's almost like incumbent on the artists to kind of get themselves out there.
You really have to be out there, and just, you have to go in, and then you have to get the email, and then you email, and then, you know, you just have to be on it, you know. And I am always like, one thing about me with just who I am is I don't like bugging people.
Yes, right. You're low key.
Yes,
yeah,
and
you
so
don't
you kind of, in order to get gigs, especially around here, you really have to keep pushing until they give you a gig.
Hustling, getting all that kind of thing.
That's not my strength. So
right. So you did grow up here in Portland your whole life, yeah. So you were telling me before you went to Deering.
I did.
Okay. Now, was that the case when you were in that kind of age, that you could kind of pick where you wanted to go if you lived in Portland? I always heard that as like the...
Yes and no. It was back then. It was more, you know, if you lived, you know, out, you know, towards the Deering area, Deering Center area, you would go there.
You would go.
And people in North Deering, you know, they generally had a choice.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I mean, which was fine, you know, because Deering was fine.
Yeah, because I mean, it was like, I guess back in those days, because you and I are about the same age, so you're talking about like in the 80s or kinds of things, you would, unless you had a parent that would drive you into town, you'd have to get a bus.
My dad worked at Deering too. So
he worked at Deering,
So I got, so it was, it worked out, you know. It was one of those things where I think back then, you know, Deering was well regarded, you know, as a school, and
more like a campus.
But there were people, you know, I grew up with people that definitely wanted to go to Portland and chose that, you know, some North Deering people, you know. So, but in Portland back then, their sports were better. So the people that were athletes wanted to be on the more successful sports teams.
Okay.
You know, so, but.
And that was Portland was better?
Yeah, back then.
I would have never known.
I've lost track of all that stuff, so I have no clue anymore.
So, but your dad, for the folks out there, as I mentioned before, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
In Gorham, correct?
In Gorham, that's correct.
And so was your dad a teacher at Deering? Was that...
My dad taught at Deering for many years,
and you teach English?
I teach English, but he taught history.
He taught history, okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you grow up having a love for history?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
oh.
History's an interesting subject.
Yeah, and I enjoy teaching it. I read a lot about history, and so it's something that I really do enjoy. And I think having my father, who was he had like the old big... It was called Rise of the Nation textbooks.
Yeah. Okay.
And when I was a kid, I used to just go, you know, oh wow, okay, yeah, James Monroe. Oh yeah, So I got into that at a pretty early age.
Okay, and so how did you then decide to become an English teacher?
Well, it was essentially what happened was I got hired. I was exclusively had an endorsement just in social studies, and then I learned pretty quickly that having only a social studies endorsement really is it really limits what the jobs you can apply for. And a lot of times when you apply for social studies positions, people they're looking for coaches, and sometimes they'll choose people that teach social studies to coach. So
right.
It was or you get people that, you know, they worked in Africa or something, or in the inner city, and those are the people you're competing against. So when I got to Gorham, I decided to broaden my horizons. So I got a couple more endorsements to kind of make me more flexible.
Yeah, because that's the interesting thing too. Because I always wondered that that's one of those teaching positions. Because if the coaches are usually, it's kind of like, okay, you're here, but because you see it even in like a lot of TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
The coach also, let's give them something to teach.
Yeah.
I went to Wayne Fleet, and I think we even had kind of some stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. Is like it's a way to pigeonhole like a coach into something. It's social studies.
I ended up, social studies is obviously a very important subject, but I think it was at the time, when I was looking to get jobs, is that it was always really hard because if you're just limited to that. Now I can teach middle level English, or I have a certification to do like multilingual. So students who are learning multiple languages, I can do that too. So I like the flexibility. I like teaching English, but I could, if they said you're teaching social studies next year, I would be okay with that. It's it's good for your brain to do different things. It's just a lot more work to teach a different subject.
Is Gorham as a middle school, is multicultural now? Is Portland, or
not near quite, as much as Portland, but the population is definitely growing, and for me that's a really positive thing, because I think that's one of the things that growing up in Portland I really appreciate about the city of Portland is that the fact that it is so multicultural makes it so much better a city, and I've seen that, so but yeah, Gorham's not where Portland. I don't know if Gorham will ever get to where Portland is, but it's definitely becoming more of a thing. So
getting outside of Portland, I mean, Maine, becomes more like it had been before, where it's less, world kind of people from around and stuff.
And you learn so much. From
Portland is great. We were just reminiscing about that, how big city it feels right here on Congress Street, with all kinds of people walking around. And you get outside of Portland and Maine, and it's back to being pretty quiet most of the time. Now, do you live in Portland, or you live in Gorham?
Oh yeah, I live in Portland.
So you commute out every day. Okay. Well, so I knew we were talking before about, so at some point you formed a love of music.
Oh yeah.
And was that at an early age, or when did you pick up the guitar, or was the guitar the first instrument?
I really liked music. In high school, it was the late '80s pop music. Then I got to college. I became more serious about my. That was the time of Nirvana and that alternative revolution, as they called it back then. But all those bands that came out of that, and I had a radio show up there. I was just really, I would say college is when I really got engaged with music, and then when I got out of college, I always wanted to play a guitar. I had a guitar. I'd asked for one for Christmas, never really picked it up. So it's either now or never, And I was like, I always dreamed of writing songs, and so right after I got out of college is when I picked up the guitar and really purposefully said, okay, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
So.
And then where did you go to college again?
Orono, University of Maine. Yeah.
And so then did you come back to the Portland area and kind of?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah. I mean, I did had an idea I was going to stay up there, but what happens when you finish college is, when you're done, everybody else leaves too.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're
all
up
your
there
friends,
in the summer, it's like nobody's there. And then I decided, Portland at that time in the mid '90s was really just starting to become what it is now. I mean, they had new breweries, and you know what I mean, and it was the old port, and there was a really good vibe to Portland. So
I mean, even by the '90s, you could go to was it Geno's would have been somewhere.
Yeah.
Then they had all the places down the old port that were still like Gritty McDuff's kind of thing, right?
I mean, that was the place for a number of years, But that was. When I was like late '90s is when I started really writing songs, and getting out and playing and stuff like that. So
on the first Friday that we had you play on last summer, you did play some fun '90s covers.
Yeah.
But you'll do those. You'll throw a few of those in every once in a while. But most of the time,
when I'm playing out, definitely I try to, because people like to hear songs they know. So.
Yeah. Right, and doing it in your own way too. Yeah,
Purple Rain,
different style. Right, exactly. So, but you how many different CDs before the new one? We're going to talk about that right here soon. Sons so far, and then pastels.
Yeah.
But how many different times have you done recordings before?
Oh boy, I did it years ago in the early 2000s, early aughts, I guess. I had a band, and we were called the Populists, and we played out actually, and it was pretty good. But putting out I put out a CD, and I look back on that, and it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And so then I put out a couple, years later, a couple singer-songwriter CDs, and one was just called Son Lambert, because I decided that Jason Lambert is actually quite a common name.
Yeah.
And when I
Right.
Googled it, like, Jason Lambert, there was this guy in Portland, Oregon,
Yeah.
who did acoustic music at like
Right.
coffee shops named
Yep.
Jason Lambert. And I was like, okay, well, but somebody did tell me, they said, everybody, didn't you know everybody has a doppelganger in Portland,
Yeah,
Oregon?
exactly. Right. There's and I could tell you two funny stories about that. One of it, which is I had a guy on my earliest shows, and he changed his name, but his real name, and he's a singer-songwriter acoustic guy, and he's traveling around, was John Mayer.
Oh, really?
And so then he would be playing out, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, John Mayer is going to be playing at this local place," and they would go, and it's not the same John Mayer.
Yeah.
And so he had to change his name so that. But he's like showed everybody. He's like, "Look, my real name is John Mayer," but he had changed it to John such and such because it was like, you'd get people and they would go. And Jason Lambert's a common name.
Yeah.
Talking about the Portland, Oregon, my dad was a professor at University of Maine, Farmington.
Yeah.
The first African foreign exchange student, my dad and some other people, a teacher sponsored him to come to Maine.
Yeah.
And they got a call. It's like in the late 70s. And there's a woman, and it's in Portland, Oregon. And they go, "We've got this guy, and he's stuck here." And they flew him to Portland, Oregon instead. By mistake, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he was stranded and freaked out.
Yeah.
And didn't know what was
That's quite
going
a difference,
on, right?
between Portland and Maine.
Exactly. So that was
3,000 miles away.
Exactly.
But so then I did a couple acoustic stuff with singer-songwriter stuff. One was called just Son Lambert, and that got a nice write-up in the Press Herald, and I recorded it here in Portland. And then I did one under that name again, called Super Stereo Sale, which, again, I look back on that and it was like the songs were all too long. Like you could have, that's how I look at that. I'm working on something kind of like a singer-songwriter type stuff now. But then I started doing these synthy type stuff. And so this is the fourth one of these, if you can believe. Yeah. And the best, I might add. And the best.
Yeah. Well, so do you want the folks out there to hear one of your live performances or the music video first? Because we can do them both. Well,
you could. We were just talking about the live performances. So why don't we
play those?
Yeah,
and then we can also talk about the video after, because that's an interesting story too. So let's play a couple songs from Jason's new album that you're performing live.
We're working
here.
Working on. Not
it.
out yet, but
not out yet. So the new ones that aren't out yet. What are the songs you're going to play for us?
I'm going to play a song called Country Songs.
Yep.
A song called Mashagon.
Yep.
A song called Memphis in Between, and a new song that I don't know exactly whether it will be on the thing, called Letters Never Sent.
Letters Never Sent. All right, let's watch all four of those songs. We'll come back with Jason, then we'll talk about what's upcoming.
Sure.
The music video as well.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, we'll be right back right after this. Thanks.
All right, so this song is going to be on an upcoming project, and this is called Country Songs, and I wrote this years ago, and it's one of those songs that sometimes songs just come to you like in 5 minutes, and this is one of those songs, and sometimes songs take 5 months, but this one just came to me. So this is Country Songs. Causing me to remember you. There's lonely towns in Arizona, there's lonely in Tulsa too. Clouds move in the sky above without even a thought of love. The sun is shining day, tell you what I'm thinking of. Yesterday, always, someday, anyway. Somewhere runs a river singing country songs on its shore. Memory lives on, could have been what should be. Walks with a fire burning deep inside of me. I was tired and drunk. Some nights so were you. Butterfly floating it off to find what she thought was true. I tried to follow, I tried to fly, ended up with a Ferris wheel blue. Round and round, all upside down, nothing left to do. Think about yesterday, always, someday, anyway. Somewhere runs a river singing country songs on its shore. Memory lives on, could have been what should be. Walls with fire burning deep inside of me. I said, somewhere runs a river singing country songs on its shore. Memory lives on, could have been what should be. Walls with fire deep inside of me. This is a song, it's about Portland, and I used to ride my bike down to the East End beach area, and I'd play on the rocks there. Not very comfortable, but I play on the rocks there. And so this is a song kind of I wrote about Portland, and the name of the song is Meshuggah, which is the name that the Native Americans called it before the British called it Portland. So anyways, this is called Meshuggah. Train whistle sounds in my own hometown. Wish you were around. Paint this scene for me. Impressionist clouds above islands now. Wonder how I could be sailing on the wind, across an ocean to another reality. All that's left is Meshuggah. All I got is to sing a song. All that's left is Meshuggah. All I got is rules of space-time is such a crime. I can't seem to find here with me. Lost memories float on the sea. Want to be free, want to be sailing on the wind, across an ocean to another reality. All that's left is Meshuggah. All I got is to sing a song. All that's left is Mexico. All I got is to sing a song. All that's left is Mexico. All I got is to sing a song. All that's left is Mexico. All I got is. And this next one is it's kind of like partially true. I guess I have a friend that lives down in Austin, so I went down to visit him and his wife years ago, and I kind of based an idea of a song around it. So this is called Memphis in Between, because the flight went from Boston to Austin, and Memphis was in between. So I thought that would be a cool thing to call a song. Miles high till I touched down at a Austin Bergstrom. Or I took so cold uptown. Well, Easy Sixth, I was making the rounds. Well, she's a private press princess. She got dresses and they're falling down. I went looking for sound. Boston, Austin, Memphis in between. I went from Boston, Austin, Memphis in between. Honky-tonk guitar led me wandering far. Well, Central Time, it's an hour behind where she's wearing guitar. Well, she got tremolo on her vocal. Well, I think that she might become a star. I went wandering far. Austin, Memphis in between. I went from Boston, Austin, Memphis in between. I went from Boston, Memphis in between. This is a song about finding some letters sent, and it's about going back in time. to say. Couldn't find another way. There was the language of sky, language, and I'd say goodbye. There on the unfolded page, taking me back to another age. Let us never say never regret. Let us never say. Let us never say lest I forget. Let us never say. Driving on Route 3 to 22 Unity and on to 95 to Orono, the university. Let us never say never regret. Let us never say. Let us never say lest I forget. Let us never say. Let us never say never regret. Let us never say. Let us never say never regret. Let us never say.
Hey everybody, we're back again. Thank you for playing those songs for us. It's like
My
a time
pleasure.
warp, reverse in time.
Yeah.
We did that a little bit earlier. So the
In
lighting,
studio, though.
in
Yeah,
the
it was
same
right here.
studio,
Yeah.
lighting might be a little different. But before we let you get going, we want to talk a little bit about the new projects. Working with Dave, right?
Dave Maddox,
some of
playing
that.
drums,
The new video. So tell us more about all of that.
So this summer, I was fortunate enough to went to Paris, France, and I have a friend there, and she's an actress. I mean, she's does some pretty cool stuff, and so I reached out to her about trying to find somebody to shoot a video, and she connected me with this guy named Antoine Zerbini.
Okay.
And the three of us spent an evening. It was a Sunday evening in late June, going around to different locations in Paris. Not like we didn't go to the Eiffel Tower. Do you know what I'm saying? We didn't go to like the Louvre. You know, we went to kind of some more neighborhoody type things to give it kind of a real kind of authentic feel. And then we did a bunch of video down in a metro station and everything, and then the end result was a video that I took all the clips that he had taken and I put them together to create a music video.
Yeah, it was a fun story. It's beautifully shot.
He did
looked
a nice
really
job.
cool. Yeah, I mean, it's in the right kind of locations.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it was
sunset, too.
sunset. Yeah, and you didn't try to do all of it like a performance. It was a story being told, which I always forget how good those can be in their own ways. But let's watch that, and then we'll kind of wrap up with a couple more things.
Okay.
So that video is, what's it called again?
It's called So Sad.
So Sad.
By Sun So Far.
Sun So Far on this album?
Yeah, it's on that album.
So it's on this album, which you can pick this album up.
Bull Moose.
Bull Moose.
You can get it certainly it's on Spotify and all those places, but in Strange Maine, I get some copies of Strange Maine.
And can they get this digitally as well?
Oh yeah, it's on iTunes, everything. Yeah.
Okay.
And Spotify it's on YouTube, Apple Music, everywhere. So.
And most of the ways they can find you is through Jason Lambert on Facebook and things.
Yeah. And there is a Sun So Far page. So if you're interested in following, seeing what's going on, you can certainly check that out as
Is
well.
it called Sun So
Sun So
Far?
Far, that's
Dot
it. Yeah,
com,
yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
or
Or
something?
just I do have that, but I don't unfortunately have a website for it. But on Facebook, I have a specific dedicated page to
Dedicated
Sun So
page to
Far.
it,
Yeah.
social media, which is
Yeah.
probably right now just as good. So let's check that video out. It's all filmed in Paris. It's awesome. We'll come back with a little more with Jason. Thanks.
Why you wanna make me so sad? So sad, so sad. Why you wanna hurt me so bad? Yeah, you need to know it's true that you made me blue. Why you wanna make me so sad? Why you wanna hurt me so bad? Why you wanna make me so sad? Why you wanna hurt me so bad? It's not enough to be tough. It's not enough when things get rough. Why you wanna make me so sad? Why you wanna hurt me so bad? Why you wanna make me so sad? Why you wanna hurt me so bad? And girl, there's something I've been meaning to tell you, and it's coming from my heart. I just wanna know why you're tearing it all apart. Why you wanna make me so sad? Why you wanna hurt me so bad? Why you wanna make me so sad? Why you wanna hurt me so bad? Why you wanna make me so sad? Why you wanna hurt me so bad? Why you wanna make me so sad? Why you wanna hurt me so bad?
We're back again. Thanks again for sticking with us, Jason. Appreciate
Glad
it.
to do it.
So we wanted to talk about, in our closing moments, a little bit more about kind of the successes this album has had, because we spent some time talking about your background. We didn't get a chance to talk about when this came out, kind of where it's gone since then. So you could tell us a little
Sure.
about that.
So
Yeah.
late August, I got the thing, the CDs in the mail, and put it out there, sent it out to some different folks, and I was fortunate to get some nice reviews in the Ballard Substack, the New Music Monday, by Chris Busby, and was very, very appreciative of his write up. And then Amsel Ponte, who does the music reviews and other things for the Press Herald, she also gave it a nice review and made some nice comments on it. So it was nice to have that. And then, to my total surprise, I didn't know at the time. Now I do, but I did know that there was an organization called Music Reviews, it's Maine Brews and Music Reviews, and they have a top 10 every week, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing that they do that. And so, that one of the tracks, the lead track called Fly Girl from that, ended up at number 5 on the chart, which was really cool because when I was younger, I used to follow the Billboard charts.
Yeah, exactly.
I still check what's going on in the top 40. So to have a song that is a local kind of minor hit, and there's a lot of great music out there in the Portland area right now too. So to be up there with some of those folks was really very. It made me feel good, because you work hard, to get this stuff out there and to see some positive results.
Yeah, you want to make sure that it can get to the people that want to hear it, that are out there. And it is kind of funny. It's like you feel like back when we were younger, that was like CYY and those local kind of stations. They were playing a lot more like local music.
Yeah.
it felt like there was more of that connection to the local stuff.
Yeah.
It feels like now everybody's kind of corporate.
CLZ does a great
CLZ.
does a great job.
Maybe
with that.
WMPG or something like that.
Dev Atwood does the stuff for CLZ, MPG as well, and also this guy named Charlie Gaylord, who's been on the local scene for a long time. He has a SoundCloud show every week. He puts together like a mix of like an hour's worth of local music, and you would be amazed at how many great tracks are on those shows. There is a lot of good stuff coming out right now.
Yeah, I mean that's what's so funny about the music scene is like I've heard some really good stuff just by having this show, and it's like, but yeah, it's like to get into that corporate side of things, that it's like very difficult.
Yeah, you're not going to get played on WBLM. They used to have a local show.
Yeah,
Charlie used to do that.
Yep.
And, but then it was. I mean, it was actually really cool that BLM did that. But it's just one of those things that sometimes those types of things, when things become more corporate, tend to fall away. Not knock on WBLM.
Well, or some of these other stations that you feel like they might not even be a local person. It's just like played by like an AI robot locally, and they just beam them. Okay, here's what we want you to play.
But radio's still alive. Radio still exists,
but it also probably exists over the internet now, and SoundCloud and different forms.
Yeah, there are. But like CLZ, they're still active in the local music, and you can find local music out there on the air if you know where to look for.
And a lot of people are more and more clamoring for everything local because everything that's big corporate, whether it's television, movies, music, it's starting to all sound the same, and it doesn't have that same kind of uniqueness to it. Authenticity of a unique voice. But so, what do you have coming up now? You have some new things.
So, my friend down at Portsmouth, name is Mark McElroy. He has a studio. This guy's pretty amazing. He's got a music recording studio. He has a guitar store, Gary's Guitars, down in Portsmouth. If you're ever down there and you're looking for a guitar, he's your guy. And he just, like 2 weeks ago, opened a record store, like selling vinyl records.
Right.
So Rosebud Records, Gary's Guitars, right near each other. Yeah. But definitely worth, if you're down there, check it out. But he's also a really great musician. So a lot of the great hooks and stuff on that recording came from Mark. And also my cousin Dylan Sullivan is an amazing bass player, and he's on that. But so I've been working on this analog tape project where you, instead of doing it on the computer, we're doing it like old style with the reel-to-reel tape. So the thing with doing that is you got to get the takes have to be on. You can't make mistakes.
Yeah, you can't,
because you can't go in and be like, let's just go in and But that's been fun. And a few years ago, I mean, I was so busy with that project, I hadn't had a chance to work to think much about this newer project. But this guy named Dave Maddox, who was in a band called Fairport Convention, he was also for a while with XTC, which is a British band.
I remember that.
And he lives in the northern Massachusetts, and he's a working musician. He'll come and play. You pay him, but he'll come and play on your recording, and I send him a few songs, and he had parts. I mean, it wasn't like he just showed up and just did. I mean, he had parts for the songs. He had rehearsed them. Right. He had thought them through. Yeah. And so super nice guy. And so and hoping maybe he can come down and play on a couple more tracks. But I'm hoping to do with that project is eventually put it out as an actual record, like a vinyl record. Yeah. With like you put the needle all done analog, like they would have done it back in 1978 or something like that. Yeah. So that's one project. I'm also working on a hip hop project as well. Okay. And so I like to make beats. Yeah. And then write rhymes for the beats. Okay. So I just have to find a venue for that.
Well, that could be a venue coming up because we still for a long time had in the pipeline our second version. It's like a second season. We had Maine Karaoke Idol, and we wanted to still have Maine Rap Idol, where we have a lot of people doing their own hip hop stuff. Yeah. And then also doing classic hip hop songs as well with their own ways.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's definitely. You'd be surprised how many people are like closet hip hop, rappers, and they do it at karaoke or things like that. Yeah. And but that would be great. Could we get you back for that if we do that? Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So check out Jason at Jason Lambert, also at the Sun So Far on Facebook.
yeah.
That's a good way to get.
Specific, yeah.
And on iTunes, or if you want to
Yeah.
grab a physical copy of this.
Bull Moose, Strange Maine.
Strange Maine, yeah.
Lucky
that's
to have
awesome.
both of those places.
Yeah, they're very good about doing.
They really are.
Local,
They are.
participation.
No
and things.
questions asked.
Yeah.
You know, they're so good about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Jason.
you,
Appreciate
Luigi.
it. Well, we'll be right back, folks, right after this. Thanks. Hey, everybody. We're back again. It's Friday night. Thanks for being here on Friday PM. I want to thank all of our guests so far, but right now I'm really excited to introduce my co-producing partner, Warren Edgar. Warren is producing a new show. It's the second season, actually, so it's not quite a new show, but the new season of Ask Christina Anything. Ask Christina Anything is a advice and relationship show centering on all ages, where they talk about people's questions about their relationships, how they can fix them, red flags. There's a new segment, I don't want to spoil too much, but called Red Flags. I think you guys will be introducing. So there's a lot of different interesting things going on in this show. And I want to talk to Warren more about it. So enough about me. Thank you very much for being here, Warren.
Thank you for having me back on.
Yeah,
and I
sure.
think it was about a year ago now that I first sat down with you and we talked about Ask Christina Anything, the premiere of it, as well as the premiere of the show Date Night, and how they were kind of coming in as this duo. And now the season 2 of Ask Christina Anything, it got a lot of great feedback, a lot of great, people were loving it. And so we decided, let's make a season 2. And it's incredible. And I think what is key about this show is that these are real people with real problems, and these are real questions. And you're right about they're asking these questions to Christina LeBel, who is an intimacy expert, who is a relationship expert, and she tackles these questions head on, and she gives them professional advice about how they can adapt their relationships, advice that they can use in their relationships or with sex problems they're having or intimacy problems that they're having. And I think that is what's key about this show, and that's what makes it stand out.
So for the older viewers out there, Dr. Ruth was very well known for this. Then there was the guys that had the show called Loveline.
Yep.
That was Dr. Drew and a couple of Adam Carolla, Dr. Drew Pinsky. And so it's been a tried and true thing. But what's very interesting about this is Christina is younger. It's not like an old, therapist or something like that. It doesn't feel as though it's that older kind of finger wagging type of thing. She's very open about a lot of things. You guys touch on a lot of issues. I mean, has there been anything that you've done on the show that's kind of made you blush so far, where you thought, whoa, this is wild?
Well, no, I mean, to your point, she is someone who is young, who is hip. And she really does a good job exploring almost anything.
Right.
And I think that's what's really big about this show is that it is focusing on every single topic, on everything that we bring up, on any question that our viewers are asking. In my opinion, I don't think anything's off the table.
Right.
Because once again, these are real people with real problems. And we may be fun and goofy sometimes because, as you mentioned, we have a new a lightning round segment where we flash out, oh, these red flags or not, and Christina answers them. But at the end of the day, we really get into real conversations. We talk about childhood trauma. We talk about domestic violence. We talk about manipulation and abuse within relationships. These are real fundamental problems that, it's not all slapstick humor. This is an actual show. And it really gets back to my original point. These are real people with real problems who are getting the courage to then ask these questions to us.
Yeah, and I think that at Christina's age, and especially even your age, because you're younger than Christina, you guys are delving into a lot of topics that a lot of older people wouldn't even really know that much about when it comes to the new age of digital and social media and how that can affect real human relationships. Like I remember earlier on, I think in season 1, and you probably delve into it again in season 2, is how unrealistic standards or just the things that are online that can influence a lot of ways in relationships that didn't happen before we were so kind of online as a people, but especially people younger than 40 or 50. And how much that affects that ability to have strong relationships. And I'm sure you guys talk about that a lot, right? Is that kind of part of it, trying to talk to younger people, or maybe sometimes even their parents that might be watching this, they want to understand what's going on with younger people, because these could be relationship things that they've never even thought about that their kids could be having.
No, I mean, and I think this show really is, in television, we talk a lot about demographics and what's the show targeting in terms of demographics.
Yep.
I would argue that this show is for everybody.
Right.
And to your point, this family could definitely be for parents about, these are the dangers of not only your child on the internet, having conversations with people that they don't know, but also like, well, what is my child doing? What are these modern relationships? Should I be concerned? And I think to parents' point, this is a show that can help address a lot of that.
Right.
But it's also for younger individuals, younger people who might just be starting out and not knowing what these red flags are and not knowing what these relationships are like. And, to find out, oh, you know what, maybe I should be looking at this in a different way than I have been looking at it. I think that is incredibly valuable.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that's it. You bring up an interesting topic in the sense that when you are talking about new things that not only, the red flags or, I've broken up with my boyfriend or girlfriend or these things, but also you guys will probably touch on things that are younger people and the new dynamics. Like you said, I mean, there's older people that don't understand any of the pronouns, right? That don't understand all kinds of new dynamics. There may be other situations that are from online or otherwise where there's new relationship dynamics. Like you're talking about where there might be more people in one relationship than just two people.
Yes.
And that might be fine with younger people, but their parents might think of that as odd or who knows, right? And you guys deal with a lot of that stuff too.
Well, that's right. And I think it really comes down to, in today's day and age, there are a lot of alternative lifestyles.
Yes.
And I would even go as far as to say, I think nowadays it's more publicized.
Yes.
That these, unordinary lifestyles, I'm not condemning them. These lifestyles, they are more in the public eye. They're through social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. These are platforms, TikTok, these are platforms that can really demonstrate to younger people, hey, these are people who, maybe think the way you think and have decided upon this. And to your point about there's relationships where it's more than one than two people.
Yeah.
And then you have same-sex relationships and couples. And we recently touched on that in an episode about your partner coming out to you as bisexual. How does that change your dynamic? That can shake up your entire world, but how do you deal with that? And these are real problems that have affected people.
Yeah, and I mean, I think even though it's on social media, but you guys are talking about it in more of a candid way, and people can get in touch with her.
That's
I mean,
right.
We'll have ways to ask a question and info and things of that nature. But I think that is an interesting point that you bring up, which is it's always for the good, but that it's, when I was growing up in, the 70s and 80s, even being gay, for example, was something that was being in the closet.
Yeah.
People were worried because somebody might beat them up.
Yeah.
Or they would be shunned or all these things. Now with social media, people have kind of said, look, this is who I am and all these things. And that's great too. But it's also more confusing for a lot of people because now the floodgates kind of opened up and there's a lot of new dynamics out there. So you guys are both in the, kind of modern generation. I know Christina's a couple years older than you, but you guys are all very kind of literate to social media, new media.
Yeah. To your point about how these alternative lifestyles are and different relationships are now, they're prevalent, and also as a culture, we are more inclusive. And I think that is a huge thing. And I think a lot of that social media has brought about that. I would actually argue that this connection to information has helped people has helped people be seen.
Yes.
And I think that was something that wasn't available prior to that.
Yeah.
But I also, to your point, what this show really does is it's not comparing or contrasting or condemning anything like that. It's it's explaining it.
Yes.
And it's explaining it in a way that not only can young people understand it, but even older individuals can explain it. And even circling back to your question, to your point about parents watching the show,
Yeah.
I think that is definitely a core demographic in that these parents, who don't understand, who may be, ignorant to these things, I'm not saying, they're intending anything malicious, but they're looking at this and they're going, well, I don't understand this. This wasn't around when I was a kid. But watching this show and hearing us explain it in the way that we explain it, I've heard from a lot of people who have gone, the advice that you've given on this show is incredibly valuable.
Spot on. Yeah.
And has moved me,
And independent and non-judgmental. And, and I think that's the point. It's like these things were out there.
Yeah.
It's that social media it's a larger community, and there's always a better opportunity for acceptance.
Yeah.
The larger the community, and the online community is massive.
Yeah.
So that a lot of people don't feel as constrained as if they were in a small town or things like that. And I think it's great that we have this show. I mean, it's for people in Maine. It's for outside of it, because we're going to be on YouTube also. We've had season 1 on a lot of streaming platforms. We'll be out there on YouTube.
It is literally for everyone. I mean, literally everyone is to watch this show.
Yeah.
This is national.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. You can watch us, not only on Channel 5 at 10 p.m. every Friday night, but, we're on, the network here, PMC. They have their own streaming platform, pmcwatch.com.
Yep.
You can go watch there. You can go watch on YouTube.
Yep.
And we are going to be rolling it out to as many streamers as we can.
Exactly.
Because once again, we've gotten so much good feedback on this show. And also, I think even, to even widen the lens even further, what I love about this new season is the set.
Yes.
We are in a beautiful, beautiful home, this mansion, call it, and it is absolutely beautiful. And I think production-wise, we've gone all out, and we have really captured a beautiful, beautiful set.
It looks great. Everything, all the production is top notch, shot in 4K. And the shows are each about half hour long.
Yeah.
She covers 4 or 5 different topics in depth. Go ahead.
It's 4 topics per show plus a lightning round.
Yeah.
It's about half an hour. If you're watching on TV, online, of course, we have versions of it without commercial breaks.
Yep.
So it's cut down probably like 20 minutes-ish.
Okay.
And then also each individual question, we're uploading standalone videos.
Standalone video. And they can watch the first episode of that, hopefully tonight at 10 p.m.
That's right. Tonight at 10 p.m.
Well, I'd like to predicate it with the fact that, it isn't just mere coincidence that I'm here in Portland. It's got a great quality of life. We've got great venues, bars, people, and just a very eclectic group. And so we truly embrace that and the way life should be. But I am concerned with the fiscal, what I can only say is irresponsibility of being able to have programs that we just can't afford. It's almost like, and I've been here for over 20 years, and I even have ties before I moved to California and came back. And one of the things that was so shocking was when I went and I said, "Oh, I'm so excited! I'm going to be able to buy a Volkswagen TDI engine," and this was before the scandal that happened. But nonetheless, what we found was that it literally cited California emission standards for the state of Maine. That they literally took the environmental policies of California and planted them here in Maine. And look, Maine's GDP the entire state doesn't rival that of the county of San Francisco. So it's very difficult to have this type of policies that are just becoming increasingly less affordable. And I'll cite specifically that our taxes have gone up. It went up 5% last year. They're now discussing another 7% tax increase and a $9 million rainy fund.
Right.
Now, at the same sense, $250,000 is going to an e-bikes. Hey, you want to get an e-bike? We now have e-bikes, and we want to make those.
Expand the e-bikes thing, and that's all for tourists most of the time. I think people, whatever happened, remember a lot of these cities had the Segway. Remember the Segway? That never really took off that well either. But well, so let's predicate for the audience. So Will has lived in the Old Port for quite a while. One of the really popular cool streets. I don't want to tell, out where you live or anything for any fans or stalkers out there. But Will has lived right in the Old Port since I've known you, right in the heart of the downtown, which is great. You love it. There's a lot of real good music. In fact, you're going to see some music tonight downtown. But tell us about, since you moved there, like what years did you first get there?
Well, it's interesting you should bring that up, because one of the things that when I first moved here, I happened to get a bill. It wasn't a lot. I think it was like $150. And it was, what's this Portland downtown fee?
A new downtown fee.
It was a downtown fee for being downtown, and so in fact I went to the city council, and I said, hey, because I educated myself, Portland Downtown District is in fact a group of people that kind of rival what the city council is supposed to do, but they do it on their own. And there's an anecdote to this, but at any rate, so here I am, about $150 annually. I go to the city and I say, look, it doesn't even show up as something that needs to be disclosed like other taxes do, and so I went, and I happened to go the day that they were discussing the legalization of pot. And so I had to sit through the entire group of people. If my pappy saw the day that they would legalize pot, this is great, so all this stuff, all the stuff. And I finally got there, and I just said, look, what is this tax for? It's, I understand it's for local businesses, but what is the city council then? And again, I just simply mentioned it. And since then, they've actually made it a disclosable tax. But they're doing other things. Like now we have stormwater drain. Now, again, it doesn't amount to much. And my antidote to this is that I met a friend, and I won't even mention his name, but he bought the Mason building, or one of the temple building, and he was like looking, and he said, "Geez, I got this like $20,000 bill for it," and it turned out to be the Portland Downtown District tax.
So local issues are definitely an interesting thing, and so. Can you come back and talk some more about some of this?
Absolutely, Luigi. It is a pleasure. And again, I want to humbly thank you for having me here to do something I'm very good at, complain.
Well, thank you again, Will. That's our show for tonight. We'll see you guys next week. Next Friday night, watch us. Also, our show's Saturday Night Special. Upcoming, we've got a new season of Ask Christina Anything with Warren Edgar and Christina LeBel. We also have a new show with comedian Michelle Lisi. It's called B-Riffs. It's female comics riffing, having fun, being crazy. We also have the new Baller broadcast show. So we got a whole new season here at Channel 5 of really interesting, great local stuff. But we want to get you back again. Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next week.